Yeah. Woo! Woo! Episode 4. Episode 4. Episode 4. Welcome. Get on this shit. Episode 4. You just heard Foals, one of my all-time favorite bands. Easily top 5, maybe top 3. I'm going to have to do a video about my top 10 favorite albums for sure, but they are a huge influence on me creatively. Maybe not creatively, but I love them as a band. I got into them around 2008, and they were formed in 2005, so I'm basically like their best fan of all time. They are indie rock. That's definitely what they would be categorized as. They used to be called math rock. That used to be how they started. So what is math rock and what is indie rock? Oh, that's a lot to unpack. No, but math rock is different from regular rock in terms of its roots, because it comes more from a jazz field, as opposed to regular rock, which comes from like blues and bluegrass and that kind of stuff. So they have more of like a jazzy bass, and if I were to kind of characterize their style of music, what it feels like you're kind of surfing on a beach on Melbourne, and everyone around you is wearing Zara clothing during the day, and then by night you're in a peacoat and you're solving a mystery in London, jolly old England. So yeah, I had to get a British accent attempt in there somewhere, but they're very good. They're a fun band to watch live. I've seen them a few times. The last time I saw them, the lead singer actually climbed up on top of the speakers that were on top of one another, and then he jumped and climbed the balcony that was on the top floor so that he could like kind of interact with the guests, with people there. So that was pretty cool. They're really good. They're very kind of fast paced, up tempo, but they have some slow songs too. A little bit for everyone. If you're going to listen to an album by them, I would go with their 2008 album Antidotes. It's like I said, it's where they started us, so they're a lot more raw, and it has that kind of perfect mix of like the erratic rhythm of math rock that I was telling you about, and mixed with the kind of concise structure that you get in a regular indie pop song. So very smooth listening, and that album is very one cohesive work. So it really feels like from beginning to end you're listening to one body of work, and the transitions in between the songs are very smooth. So I love when artists do that, and they really think about how the songs blend into one another. It's really enjoyable experience if they kind of transition seamlessly. If you listen to 2 tracks on that album, Red Sox Pugie and then Olympic Airwaves, you'll see what I'm talking about. Like in between, it's completely seamless. It's really nice to listen to. So that's definitely, like I said, one of my top favorite bands of all time. Really great band. And like I said, I like when artists think about the design of the track order and all that. Like a good example of that is Frank Ocean, the rapper. He came out with an album where I forget what it was called, but there's a track called Nights, and it's right in the middle of the album. And in the song, there's a beat switch up right in the exact middle of the song, which is also the exact middle of the album time-wise. So that's really like going in deep, but that's pretty cool. I like that aspect of like album design. I also really just like smooth transitions, I appreciate a good segue. So speaking of good segues, now I'm going to talk about a different topic. What should we talk about today? How about COVID-19? That's a fresh topic. That's a new angle that I'm sure that you guys aren't tired of talking about. God, I'm so sick of COVID. I'm not actually sick, but I'm sick of like we're gonna need to stop talking about it, you know? Maybe it's like Voldemort, we're giving him more power by talking about it. I think it's ironic that given that we're supposed to be like self-isolating and social distancing, everyone is still like running to Costco and Walmart in big droves to get hand sanitizer. And apparently they're saying that we're not even going to run out of anything, so I was just there to get what did I buy? The essentials, fudge covered Oreos. I really hope I wish you guys don't discover those, because they're crack if you like sweets. Oh yeah, but I think the worst part of COVID is like the hacky humor that comes out of it, like social distancing. I've been doing that since 2007, you know, like everyone's heard that one already. There's a comedian, Norm Macdonald, who actually he did a pretty funny take on it. He was saying like oh, the death toll is now up to 2. The death toll's up to 6. It's now 30. 500. I don't feel so good. Like the guy who's announcing the death toll starts getting sick. And yeah, there's absurdist humor. Hey, callback. So yeah, pretty sick of COVID. Not gonna lie. I think besides the hacky humor, another really horrible aspect is the loss of sports. Like a lot of shit happens in the news where I really don't care because it doesn't affect me. I don't know, that's bad, but it's just how it is. But when you take away sports, when you take away my tennis, that's why it gets personal. Okay? Indian Wells. I gotta have my Indian Wells tournament. You know, BNP Paribas, the Miami Open. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? Tennis fans out there. Yeah, it sucks. It sucks. No sports. It was pretty cool to see a UFC event where there were no people in the arena. It was just an empty arena, and seeing fights happen like that, where everything is like all the sound of the fighters and the coaches and stuff is amplified. That was interesting to see. That's the one thing about COVID. At least things are different. At least that kind of spices things up a little bit. And another advantage is that you get to be a couch potato and not feel as bad as you normally do. I don't know what shows you guys are watching, but I'm watching the current season of Curb Your Enthusiasm, and it's pretty good. And if you don't watch the show, then you don't get that reference. So that's okay. I don't know how many people watch the show. I didn't like it at first when it first came out, because it just felt like it was like a meaner, uglier version of Seinfeld. But I think somewhere around like the mid 2000s, like there was a paradigm shift in comedy, and we moved away from the sort of the canned laughter and the, you know, every line has to have a joke in it, kind of like unrealistic way that the characters would speak, where everyone is super witty and on the ball and everything that they say. It's like that's not how real conversations normally are. So I think that as we move towards more realism and entertainment, that's what we crave. And I think probably reality TV had a lot to do with that paradigm shift as well. You know, like instead of having the set cameras, they would have the shaky cam, like in The Office or Parks and Recreation. So everyone wanted like more genuine feel. And if you compare Seinfeld and Curb, then you'll see that like in the Seinfeld's writing, they're always witty, and the situations that they get themselves into, although they're plausible, they're still like pretty far-fetched situations. Like I remember at one point he dropped like a cinnamon babka thing, and he had to like George, and he had to like fish it out with a fishing rod, where he had to like try to pick it up with a fishing rod. So, you know, how has that ever happened in human life? Probably not. Is it funny? Yes. So that's why it worked back then. Sitcoms, situational comedies. But now, as we crave more genuine humor, which is, I guess, is a good thing because the standards are higher. But now people want something more realistic. And a good scene to watch from The Office. I think it's a deleted scene, but it's where Michael gets Ryan to clean his car out. And at first he's like, Ryan, I have a special task for you, and I need you to do it. And he's like, yeah, I'm right away. And then cuts to them like cleaning out the car, and there's a few lines in there that really like encapsulates like what character they're trying to describe Michael as. And the first one is like, should I throw out this empty bottle of cologne? He's like, that's not empty, there's still some in the straw. And he pulls out the little like thing that sprays, and he's like rubbing it on his neck, and it's like, this is a perfect smell like to Midnight Blue or whatever, Midnight Musk or something like that. And so it's like not even the real good cologne, it's a smell like and Ryan was also like, how many filet of fishes do you eat? Because there's like apparently a bunch of wrappers in his car. And he's like, that's spread over 2 or 3 months, Ryan. And he's like, still. It's like, of course it's filet o fish. Like, this is the most disgusting thing on the menu you can get at McDonald's, and that's what he has. So they're just trying to, like, it's more trying to create characters that are believable yet still kind of funny and ridiculous. And more of a drive towards, like, more casual dialogue. If you want to compare kind of the degrees of cringe, then you can watch The Office UK versus The Office US. Specifically, you can watch a scene where like they're both dancing, because there's a scene where the manager in the office in the UK is dancing, and there's a scene where Michael Scott dances on the cruise ship episode. And although they're both like pretty painful to watch, the Michael Scott one is more kind of like haha funny, and the UK one is just really hard to watch because it's painful to like see him go through that because he's trying so hard to impress them. So I don't know why. I think, like I said, reality TV shows, and we wanted to get that secondhand like drama or secondhand cringe. That's kind of why there was a whole shift. And personally, I love cringe. Like, I go on Reddit quite a bit, and the top three ones I visit are tennis, mixed martial arts, and cringe. And if you really want to see the good stuff, then you change the filter and go to top all time, and then you get to see all the hardest things to watch in humanity. One of the best series for cringe is just type in cringeworthy survivor moments on YouTube, and it's a whole series. There's like, I don't know, over 20 of them. Whoever put these together really deserves money for it. And they're about like 15 minutes long on average, but it's just like, I don't know if it's real or not, because it feels like there's too many of the scenes, and they're too well like dialogued to be real. So I don't know how real it is, but the cringe value is so strong on those videos. But it's also equally funny, because like cringe can be really hard to watch and just sad, or there's cringe that is funny to watch, and it definitely falls more into the realm of funny cringe. So that's a series I would definitely check out if I were you. There's not a whole lot of things that I can watch alone and just like laugh out loud a bunch of times, but that's definitely one of the things. It's definitely worth checking out. If you need to know what things to watch to waste time on the internet, I'm your guy. One of the greatest scenes from that whole series is like, there's a girl, she's like boiling water in the morning, and then there's a guy just like throws in his dirty clothes like right in front of her, and he's like, and there's like brown stuff on his clothes, and he's like, that's mud, not poop, I swear. Which is like, that line doesn't make anything better. Because even if it's mud, that's disgusting. But the fact that he has to even say that as a disclaimer just shows that he's probably a pretty gross guy. So that's a really good series. Another series I love to watch is called Body Language Drama, and it's definitely what do you call it? Guilty pleasure, even though we're not supposed to call it guilty pleasure anymore, apparently, because it takes away the enjoyment of guilty pleasures, and we should just call them pleasures. But Yeah, it's over analysis basically of just like scenes or things that happen in real life. So a lot of it is like based around politicians and Trump, and it got really hot around the time that he was campaigning because he would always grab other politicians and like bring them in, like it was like his move is like squeeze and grab. It's always like a physical dominance thing. But the ones I enjoyed watching were of podcasts, particularly two podcasts. One is H3H3, and the other one is Theo Vaughn's podcast called This Past Weekend. And the guest they had on was Bill Burr, and it's very interesting to watch. And I don't know if they set this up like this on purpose, because this seems to happen with a lot of people that interview Bill Burr, but he would just kind of make fun of them very subtly but still like overtly. And I think that's just the way that Bill Burr gets his laughs, you know. He's kind of like an old school comedian where it's like make fun of the other person first, you know. There's other comedians where they try to make fun of themselves first before the other person can. But it was definitely like a clash of worlds. It was the stand-up comedy world meets the podcasting world, and they're both very awkward interviews to watch, and the body language drama analysts do a good job of making quality content there. So I don't know if that's something you'd be interested in, but it doesn't have to be podcast shows. You can watch ones on there's like a guy who, like a serial killer, who gets investigated by the cops, and they have body cams, and his body language just gives him away the entire time. It's shocking to see someone who could be that stupid, but also be like that cold-hearted. It's pretty scary, actually. I'm not going to remember his name right now. Something Scott, I think, but I will link that in the description. But yeah, body language is interesting because we all do it. And I try to think a lot about my body posture too, especially when I'm sitting down, because I'm a sloucher, you know. It's just like more relaxing to slouch. I don't think it's necessarily a like confidence thing, but the thing about posture is it's like a daily choice, you know. You gotta like choose like, okay, I'm gonna sit like this, and I'm gonna try to like keep my back straight and stuff. Not always the easiest thing to do, but you gotta like stretch every now and then, you know, especially if you're sitting down for a long time. They said that, I know that a lot of people try to get standing desks to improve their posture, but standing for a long time is just as bad as sitting for a long time, they say. So what you're supposed to do is kind of alternate, you know, move around a bit and get up. The key is to not stay in the same position for too long. I was even thinking of getting one of those back brace things, just to like, I don't know how strong they are or how comfortable they are. So if anyone has any experience on back braces, please let me know. Bears eat bats. Bears, bats, beats. Battlescar Galactica. That's an Office line that I really butchered, but it's okay. We're moving right through it. X Factor. Okay, I mentioned the X Factor last week. It's a habit-forming routine where you X off the good habit that you do each week, each day, and then the more X's you get, the more good you feel about yourself. I kind of botched that this week, I'm not gonna lie. I wasn't feeling great at the beginning of the week, and so I just wasn't motivated. That's one thing I want to work on for this, is motivation. But I think the important thing is, whenever you set goals for yourself and you don't achieve them, don't get too down on yourself, because that's the real failure. Is we have this whole pile of shit next to us, right, that we can dump on ourselves whenever we feel like we deserve it. And the thing about that pile is it's unlimited. You can bury yourself forever. So I think it's important to realize that you're the one holding the shovel, and not always, you know, it's up to you how much you want to be down on yourself. So, and just remember that the great thing about life, this thing I try to appreciate and keep in mind is like we always, barring COVID or something, we always have the next day. So just don't get too down on yourself, and just don't think about past mistakes too much, and try to think about what you can do better the next day. And that's why I'm pretty excited that I got a job. So like I'm gonna be starting tomorrow, and hopefully that'll give me a bit more structure, because I want to strike like a work-life balance. Right now it's like all life and kind of drive me insane. So I'm excited to start my new job. Gonna be researching Excel hacks tonight and try to become like an office guru, because I'm gonna be someone's assistant. I'm excited. I'm a little scared because whenever I think of myself as an assistant, I just imagine that like that character of like the new person in the office who's like not sure of themselves, and they're well, see, I think I have that, and like tripping and falling, dropping my binders and stuff. But no, I think the important thing is to when you start a new job is to just not to be too hard on yourself, and also try your best and ask as many questions as possible. I think that's something where I've really like done well in each job, is to ask the questions that really need asking. And another thing is like taking initiative. I think is something that people really like. So whenever you have an idea, just suggest it, or take the lead on a project or something. I haven't had too many like grown-up office jobs, so projects and stuff like that. There's some new terms, but I've already found this app that works pretty well. I think it's called Booktop or something like that, or I have it somewhere here. But yeah, it's organization app that looks pretty easy, pretty good to use. Like once you get the hang of it, so I've been playing around with that, and I think also just try to keep a good reputation at work. So not too much gossip, or try to stay neutral on those kind of office politics. One other thing I want to touch on, we're going to do some guests hopefully soon. I have some guests on my show. I'm excited to have some of my first couple of guests. I already have a few ideas of who I'm going to have on, and I'm not sure if I'm going to keep the same basic structure as this one, or if we're going to have a bit more of a loose kind of discussion, and then I'll edit it later, sort of a la Mark Maron WTF. We'll see. I'm not sure, but that's all on the horizon. So stay safe, guys. Wash your hands and don't touch your face, and don't lick any door handles. And if you want to do the X Factor thing with me, I am starting it this week. And I will update you guys on that next time. So take it easy, and thanks for listening.